Okay, I set the camera up, and now, hi, this is another Trans Elder here. Almost didn't get that out. My name is Ricky, and this video is about the video logging the phenomenon of aging, primarily. Today, I did a great trek. I use my sticks. These are my magic sticks, my secret sticks. These are my lifeline. I use them to train, but they're not only for stability, but for leverage. I can use my total body, whole core, to move along, and I do that really well using a playlist at 3.3 miles an hour, 128 steps per minute. Here's my playlist, and then I'm going to put my stats over here. That's what I do for my normal routine. So it's over 3.3, almost 3.3 and a half miles every time I go out and do this trekking. And the floors, it's equate to about 36, anywhere between 26 and 36 floors, depending on what route that I take. That's elevation change, the equivalent to flights of stairs. So anyway, that's the end of that part of it, but that's not what I want to talk about on this video. Oh, I gotta take these out. These are Satsuma seedless mandarin tangerines, and I got them about a quarter mile from here. I had a tree that didn't get picked, and I'm picking these. I eat a couple of these a day, and the tree will be done in probably another week or two. So I'm taking advantage of that lovely fruit. So the video I'm talking about today is primarily having to do with numbers. I thought that I was being trolled, which I was, and that things were going wrong. All of a sudden, the algorithm was choosing not to do things because of who I am as trans and all that other things. But I had to do a deeper dive, and I did this deeper dive, and that's what I want to talk about. Once I get dried up, I take this wet stuff off. I have a root burl, a shapeshifter that I'm going to be working on. I have to do one of those. I try to do them one a month or so, maybe more. But I'm going to continue in the video in my little greenhouse studio there. And with that, I'm going to talk about the root burl I'm going to work on to start my root burl channel, and to finish talking about the stats I found about my little rabbit hole I went down about with algorithm and what I was thinking about having to do with who I am and all of that other stuff. So I'm going to end this part of the video, and I'll see you right over here. Hi, everyone. It's not quite the afternoon or the next day, probably 2 days later, something like that. But I am going to continue with the video here about what I was talking about, the stats. So my memory is not as good as it used to be. I could pretty much get by my storyboards without having to look at them too much in the past, long time ago. But now with age, that part of me, it doesn't work as well anymore. So the phenomenon of aging is definitely working with me now. So I'm taking some notes out that I have, and I'm also got my computer open because I'm going to do my video here and put myself up in the corner as I talk about the numbers that I'm going to show you here and now. So when I was born in the decade that I was born in 1953, that's the year that I kind of think is important to me, because that's the year I looked for. But anyway, at that particular year that I'm looking at, there was like 162.2 million people in the United States. And that population grew. It went boom. It went great big to 161.2 million. That's a lot of people to have in a short amount of time. And that's what they call the baby boomer. Now, what we have now is a whole alphabet of things from A to Z and more. And not only that, but we have LGBTQ plus A and all, and we have AI now. So anyway, let's go on with what I'm talking about as far as all those millions of people. So there, in that year, there were no transgender. That name hadn't been coined yet. The transgender hadn't been a thing, but there was there was some clinical data, and there was information going on about gender affirming care, but it wasn't even called that at that time. in this case, we'll see here what it says. It was clinical data and medical reports of individuals undergoing hormonal and surgical transitions. And those were published during that year in a journal of the Medical Association. And what happened, and this name was familiar to me when I was doing this little tiny bit of research here, Christine Jorgensen. She was familiar, and I asked a couple seniors that I know, older than me, if they remember her, and they did. They remember her well, and I do remember her, and I think maybe she made some impressions on me sometime while I was growing up. In any case, when you look at Christine Jorgensen and how she went about all of this, she kind of started out early having problems with gender dysphoria, and it wasn't even recognized as gender dysphoria right then. And she was in the army, and she was a clerical a person in the army, and I can imagine that that's what she was doing. And amongst all of that, probably most of the clerical, I'm not too sure at the time. They were called WACs or waves. And women in the military were kind of assigned different kind of things. They weren't necessarily all clerical. So anyway, I'm kind of bird walking around there. Let's go through what she had done. After she was discharged, she sought some medical attention, and she found that in Copenhagen. Yeah, she did her transition in Copenhagen. She started it at what it says here, 25, 24 she started, and she finished her last transitional surgery at age 26. Then she was introduced as a woman to the United States public. It says right down here when she was 26 years old. So there you go. That is how long ago transgender and gender affirming care has been in the Medical Association and recognized, understood, and has been studied. It's just not as well publicized, or they don't see people like us as a I don't know what they see it. I think it's because we are so small. I don't know why. But anyway, let's look at that. So today's population is $342.5 million. 342.5 million people. God, if I only had a fraction of that, that'd be wonderful. Okay, and and back then it was 160.2 million. So there's a big difference. That's a lot of million of people that have been around, have come into play here. So when you take those numbers and I look at it and break it down to all of that kind of thing, this is the rarity of the whole thing. And the age 65 demographic is really small. And trans elders like me are really, really tiny. There's only a 2%, 2.6, 0.2%. That's less than a percent of 65 and older. And if you even getting more, 72 or older, it even gets more. Well, just even at 65 and older is 217,000, and that doesn't make that is over the age of 65. So. But there is some other interesting facts when it says down here, the general stats in this thing, that the identification is heavily skewed towards younger population today. 76% of all people identifying as transgender are under the age of 35. So that is an amazing influx of a difference between that age gap. So excuse me for rattling on here. I hope you're making sense of this as I move along here. Okay, next is I did some mathematical breakdowns as far as the rarity goes, because this kind of made it fun just to think about how rare it is to even find somebody like, it's like finding Elmo. Okay, so anyway, we did some math here. 1 in 7,784 people. 1 out of every those people in the United States is a transgender over 70. So it means you meet one, that's your odds, 1 in 7,784. So we go, oh my goodness sake. So we go on beyond that one, and let's go take a look at this stat here. So calculating the transgender women that are older, that they're 44,000, 70 or older in the United States. That's not very many. Not very many people. That's like less than a small town. So, and we go to put that into more perspective. I looked at what was happening inside the Superdome. So I looked at the Superdome. It's a big place. And then I looked at how many seats they had. And then I said, if I did some math about what the percentages of how many people of me would you find in there, it came out that there'd be like 9 people, maybe 10, that you could find in the entire stadium. So anyway, that is a lot. That's not very many people. It's a lot of people out in the stadium for very, very few people like me. So anyway, and when you take the overall odds of that, and that's how I'm going to close the video, is if you find me or you find someone like me on the street, this video finding you is pretty good odds. If you match the lottery, if you match 2 out of 5, it's 1 in 10. 1 in 10 are the odds. So my odds are to meet me are like I said, 1 in 7,784. So you can match 4 out of 5 of lottery tickets with better odds than meeting me. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you again sometime soon, I hope.